Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel, and this is your tip of the week. I'm going to talk a little bit about this particular pattern. It's New Look 6556. Now I bought this a number of years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, so I don't know if it's still available out there. But in order to make a t-shirt, you don't necessarily need this particular pattern. Every pattern book has their own t-shirt pattern, so don't worry about getting this particular one. Now this one here, this is an asymmetrical top. I do have a tutorial on making this, so look below your YouTube screen for this link. So in order to get to the description section, you have to scroll down below your screen till you see the word more. Click on it and that section will expand open and you'll see a lot of links appearing down there. So I'm going to focus on this style right here. This particular one, the back of it, the bottom edge is much lower than the front. I didn't want it like that, so I did cut it down and make it even with the front side. Now my purpose for making that particular blouse is I hadn't made a t-shirt style in quite a while, so I wanted to refresh my memory. So I looked for some stretch knit fabric that would be appropriate. I didn't have quite enough of it to do everything exactly what I wanted, but I'm really glad I did this little refresher project for myself. So before I get started on the shirt, I want to remind you that there are grains in your fabric. And these grains you need to know. So this is a stretch knit. It's a two-way stretch. It stretches this way, left and right. So see how much it stretches? But when I turn it to the other side, it stretches very little. So when you're laying your pattern pieces out, there are arrows on your pattern pieces that are going to help you determine where that grain is. So these arrows represent the direction that sometimes you will see the arrows in. They're either going to go straight across or this way. On most of your clothing fabric, you're going to see it going this way. So when I laid this pattern piece out on my fabric, I placed the grain, the stretching grain, this way, because that's where you want the stretch, is going side to side. If you have it laid incorrectly and you put it on, your stretch is going to go this way and it's going to be very uncomfortable. It's not going to be easy to get on and it's just not going to fit right. Now this particular t-shirt I made called for a neck band. So when you look at your t-shirts that you've purchased, they always have a little neck band on it, and they're always stitched on in a different way. So the method that I'm going to show you is not necessarily the only way. So this is just another way of doing it. So the band will be attached up here. Sometimes when you're putting a band on fabric that does not stretch, it'll still call for this band, but it'll ask you to do stay stitching. And that means you're going to do a straight stitch up near the neckline area. So on fabric that does not stretch, you need that while you're putting the neckband on, because your fabric can get very distorted while you are stitching. So sometimes your neckbands will ask you to lay it on the bias. So you'll see an arrow that's crooked. So a lot of your bands, like even on this neckline up here on fabric that does not stretch, it will be on the bias. So here is a sample of the method I use for putting a neckband on. If there's no opening in the back, where you would snap the shirt closed or have a little hook, you just stitch the ends of your band together. So that's what I did. Now, during this entire process of making my t-shirt, I used a Serger sewing machine. And I highly recommend a Serger machine when you are making clothing. it's so much easier and your seams come out so nice. But the big problem with a serger is if you did something wrong while making this seam, it's a lot of work ripping this serger seam out. So just be aware of that. So make sure you really understand your project that you're working on. So once your seams are brought together on the neckband, my pattern asked me to fold it in half, which is what I did. I also recommend you press it really well because that's going to help you place it on that neck area. The problem with knits is they roll on the raw edges. So some people use starch. They put it on there to prevent the rolling while they are sewing. I didn't do that. For some reason, I just didn't want to. So you just have to be aware that that's going to happen on there. So when you're going to put it on your neck, you place this seam on the band on the center of the back neckline. So right in the center. You have this folded in half, and this fold right here, you can mark it with a pin or use a little piece of chalk and mark that little center seam. And that's going to go on the center front of the shirt. So here is the shirt. It's all done. Now, like I said, this was just a test project. Some of the things I did on it, I wish I had done a little differently. I also didn't have quite enough fabric, so I had to lay the sleeve pattern in an area where I didn't want it because I want my stripes to match on the side seams, which they did, except for on the sleeve, it didn't. So I didn't worry about it too much because this is underneath and no one's going to really notice it. So also remember when you need to match your stripes before you cut it out. So here's the neckband. Here is my seam on the band, and it's going to go on the back, and the other side of this is going to go on the center front. Now, the band is pinned on the right side of the fabric, which is the pretty side, outside, front side, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to fold this back center area and place the raw edges of the band here, and I'll pin that down. Then I'll go to the center up here in the front and pin the band down on the center. And then you're just going to ease the rest of the neckline onto the neckband. I used a serger to stitch around that area. So once it's all stitched on, you have one more step to do. On this particular one, I did the neckband just slightly differently, but I wish I hadn't have done it that way. What I recommend is that you have that raw edge of the neckband. It's stitched on. Fold that raw edge so that it goes down towards the bodice, all the way around. Then I recommend you put on a twin needle, if you have one, and stitch right on top of that seam of the neckband. I hope this makes sense. And this holds everything nice and smooth. So I did 2 rows of stitching, but I did not have a twin needle. If you're not using a twin needle, things may not stretch like they should. Now on the hem of the bottom of the shirt and the sleeves, I ran the raw edge of those sections through my serger to get a nice finished edge. The serger also flattens out those curling edges that you might have on your knit fabrics. Then I folded this over 3/4 of an inch and pressed it, and did place a few pins along there to hold everything in place. But I recommend you press before you stitch. And because this seam was the hem width was 3/4 of an inch, I placed this edge, this folded edge, in my machine on one of the lines that was close to the 3/4 of an inch, and then put my twin needle on and stitched on the top side. Now, if you've never used a twin needle, I'm going to have a twin needle tutorial. It's either going to come out before this video is released or shortly after. So make sure you subscribe so that you can get notification when that tutorial comes out. Well, I hope this tip of the week was helpful to you. If you want to learn more about making clothing, the best advice I can give you is to watch as many clothing tutorials as you can. It may not necessarily be a piece of clothing you're interested in making, but in every one of those tutorials, you're going to learn a variety of sewing methods that may apply to some garment you are trying to make. So make sure you click on some of those tutorials below your YouTube screen in that description section. Now don't forget to follow me on Instagram and make sure you check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. If you like the Sewing Room channel, one of the best ways to show your support is to subscribe by clicking on that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And make sure you click on the bell so you receive notifications for all my new videos. I'm Cheryl, this is Manny, and this is Scotty. See you next time.